Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Legion Alpha video. Blizzard have finally added legendary items into the Alpha. In today's video, I'm going to give you a look at a scattering of them, picking out the ones that seemed the most impactful or interesting to me. But first of all, we have a post from lead developer Ian Hazzikostas. He said, let's assume everyone in raids has one and only one of these legendaries, and cannot control which one it is, and to assume that they work in all non-PvP content at all times, including Mythic, World First progression. He asked players to say which ones are worrisome, which ones are coolest, and he also said that he understands a decent chunk of posters will hate this system because they're maybe the kind that would think that let's just have no gear at all in Mythic and let it all just be 100% fair and kind of homogenized as far as item levels go. But to humor him and provide feedback on the legendaries as they currently are. Now, I have talked about the pros and the cons of the legendaries at length in a past video, but my main takeaway from spending an afternoon with these and a few different classes is that these are kind of like having a new set bonus, Draenor perk, passive talent with your class. It's kind of like a bolt-on, and many of them will synergize with your class's toolkit and impact your talent choices. Exact sources have not been confirmed yet, but Blizzard have heavily suggested them being involved with the game's world content. Look, given that WoW is a social MMO, I think it's better that everybody just has reasonable access to the same toolkit. After reading Ian's post and seeing some of the legendaries, I think some of them are decently cool for roaming around the world, but when it comes to group content, I do not think, broadly speaking, this as a system is a good introduction for the game. It just seems like an addition, a new thing, just for the sake of there being a new thing, and it might just lead to social and balance issues. However, I've already talked about that stuff. This video is less about my own opinions, so I'm going to now hop in-game and give you a look at a selection of the legendaries that I've been able to test. So with the explanation over, I'm going to give a quick run-through of some choice picks for a few different classes, mainly the classes that I'm a little bit more experienced with, so I can actually give you some worthwhile views on the whole thing. First of all, there are 3 legendaries which are across all of the classes that I've seen. We've got this one, it's, what's that, Zarvik's Magnum Opus, whatever. Its effect is that after not taking damage for 5 seconds, you gain an absorb shield for 25% of your max health for 30 seconds, and that effect can occur once every 30 seconds. Quite a significant boost to your survivability, so that's kind of handy. We then have Sephuz's Secret. Again, these all have odd names, but whatever. Successfully applying a Disorient, Fear, Incapacitate, Polymorph, Root, Sleep, or Stun to an enemy gives you 70% increased movement speed for 10 seconds. And then there's one called Agrimar's Treads, which will increase your movement speed by 100% of your haste. So as an example for me, that would be 3%. So that's a number that will increase as the expansion goes on. Anyway, let's talk about the actual legendaries themselves. Let's start off by going through some of the more interesting hunter ones. The Shadowhunter's Voodoo Mask makes your Feign Death heal you for 20% max health instantly, and then an additional 5% every second for 10 seconds. So if I hop off, actually no, if I apply that first, and just hop off my mount, take a whole bunch of damage. Okay, that's hurt me a bit. Let's just Feign Death. As you can see, wow, the health is just flowing back to me. That's extremely powerful, and certainly in a raiding situation that will, that'll just flat out mean there'll be a lot of times where you will not die. If there's a big period of damage incoming and you use that, you'll heal quite a bit of it back. We have Ullr's Feather Snowshoes. The remaining cooldown of your True Shot is reduced by 1 second every time you cast a damaging shot. Now, True Shot as an MM Hunter is your primary cooldown, so if I, use True Shot right now, you will see that every time I use any sort of damaging ability, a second goes off its cooldown. That means that it's overall going to be quite a lot more common. Now, that's not every time that you hit something with a damaging effect, so it's not like I do a barrage and then it's instantly off cooldown, anything crazy. So, there we go, 156. If I just keep on spamming my arcane shots, you can see the seconds pretty much being like just slain off its total cooldown. We've got Quapla? Yeah, words. The Eredun War Order, so Dire Beast, will reduce the remaining cooldown of your kill command by 3 seconds. So if I hop over to Beast Mastery, we can send my pet in. I'm going to do a kill command and then instantly a dire beast. So there you go, and I use that again. It's down to a 3-second cooldown, giving me a window to use one ability before I can use that again. That does somewhat change up your rotation pretty significantly. Just to quickly go through other examples, Zervim's Hunger, Mark Shot has a 15% chance not to remove Hunter's Mark, so you could do multiple Mark shots in a row if you got super lucky. It's kind of like a miniature built-in lock and load. We've got War Belt of the Sentinel Army. Each enemy hit by multi-shot increases the damage of your next aimed shot by 10%, stacking up to 20 times. 20. Now that would mean that you would probably want to be, you know, taking, I think it's the talent's called Bombardment. Yeah, it's the one that makes your aimed shots ricochet and do AoE damage. That would make that talent more powerful. And then we've got Nessingwary's Trapping Treads. Gain 30 focus anytime one of your traps is triggered, meaning that if you're doing gameplay as an SV Hunter, well, you're going to be getting quite a lot more focus back, and you're going to be going for the talent choices which give you more traps. Indeed, one of them pretty much, I think it halves your trap cooldown, so there's a lot of synergy here. And going through this video, just think about the amount of synergy with talents and how they will influence talent choices pretty much across the board if you get them. It's a bit like how in D3 you can get a legendary and then you will change your character's build to fit what really amplifies the benefit from that legendary item. Let's head over to the Retribution Paladin and take a bit of a look. So we've got Liedrin's Fury Unleashed. Whenever Avenging Wrath is active, you gain 1 holy power every 2 seconds. We then have the Whisper of the Nathrazim. Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm increase the damage of your next Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm within 4 seconds by 25%. Now this, it's funny because as you get more haste, you might be able to fit a little bit more sort of within that time period, but basically what this means is you want to, you know, build up your holy power so that, I'm now at 5, so that you can get as many back-to-back kind of Templar Verdicts as you can, while weaving in pretty much one other ability. So I would do Templar's Verdict, Blade of Wrath, Templar's Verdict, also I can get this buff usage, and yeah, there we go, I'm back to square one. I can then go Templar's Verdict, Blade of Wrath, and I'm just maintaining this 25% here. And yeah, you can use that to sort of string stuff together. One of your effects, I think it's, if I just bring up the passives here. Yeah, as an example, something like, say, Fires of Justice, which makes your next Templar's Verdict a bit cheaper. If you're getting procs of Fires of Justice in and around this, you can get maybe, you know, 3 or 4 Templar's Verdicts chained together, each one doing 25% more damage. Again, that's an example of one of these legendaries changing how you play the game. Another pretty major one is Tyr's Hand of Faith. This will reduce the cooldown of Lay on Hands by 70%. Pretty damn significant. And just in general, you know, there are quite a few other legendaries. Some of them have effects which are a little bit more incremental. I'm kind of just picking out the ones that I immediately think, wow, this is changing a big core of the spec. A bit like, you know, you're getting a new 2-set bonus or 4-set bonus, and that it really changes your sort of day-to-day rotation. Others, I suppose, are maybe a little bit more like the Lesser Drain or perks, perhaps. Next, we're just going to quickly move on to the Mage so I can show you the Shard of Exodar. While you are not in a party or raid, Time Warp has a 75% reduced cooldown and will not cause temporal displacement. This basically means, if I click on that, then use Time Warp, it actually has a 2-minute cooldown instead of a 5-minute cooldown, and it didn't give me the, you know, the debuff that it would normally give you, so basically it turns it into a regular cooldown that you can pretty much use in a regular basis. Very handy for when you are just out in the world doing stuff. But of course, in a raid scenario, it's not going to be of any benefit, other than the fact that the item is, of course, of a higher item level. Quickly hopping over to the Druids, I just wanted to point out the Essence of Infusion, which makes Tranquility heal targets below 50% health for 50% more. I have a slight feeling this one will be tweaked because, well, that just seems extremely powerful in a raiding context. But of course, for everything crazy like that, we've got something like the Tearstone of Elune, which will cause, you know, your allies healed by wild growth to have a 20% chance to also gain rejuvenation. You know, you've got the ones that are a little bit more tame, and then some of the ones that are maybe a bit crazy, and that might get toned down by Blizzard as the alpha goes on. Swiftly hopping over to the Death Knights, we've got a few decently interesting ones. First of all, the Archer's Drapes increase the duration of Anti-Magic Shell by 100% and any damage it absorbs will heal you, so that I can see being quite useful in a few scenarios. We've got the Perseverance of the Ebon Martyr. Howling Blast does 40% increased damage to enemies affected by Remorseless Winter. I'm in Frost at the minute, so Remorseless Winter, you click on that, and for the next 8 seconds you get a big swirly thing around you, which does damage to enemies. So if I use Remorseless Winter and then Obliterate, hopefully just get a, if I were to get a Charge of Rhyme, it would be awesome. But let's just use Howling Blast as an example. So while you have Remorseless Winter up, whenever you do Howling Blast, it will do 40% more damage. If I only had, there's a Charge of Rhyme, great. So ideally, you've got you've got Remorseless Winter up, you've just got a Charge of Rhyme, so now you're getting 40% more damage on a Howling Blast that already is being powered up by Rhyme. Rhyme, if you're not aware, and if I can just find this, makes your next Howling Blast do 300% additional damage. Pretty cool. And that's another example of a little bit of synergy being sort of crept into the system. And then we've got Koltira's Newfound Will. Obliterate has a 15% chance to refund 2 runes. That's putting a little bit more RNG into your gameplay. So if I just go here and Obliterate for a bit, eventually I should find that I get free runes. But yeah, I mean, there we go, we just had a proc for us there, so that's the sort of thing you'll probably want to monitor a little bit, and that will increase the pace of your gameplay. I suppose, as an example, like if this is affecting Obliterate more, then maybe you don't want to be going with Frost Scythe, because that means overall you'll be casting a bit fewer Obliterates. Who knows, but again, some of these do affect your talent choices. I'm going to wrap up my look at specific legendaries with the Shaman, which is actually a class I've been playing quite a lot of in Legion. So Spiritual Journey, whenever Ghost Wolf is active, the remaining cooldown on Feral Spirits recovers 75% faster. Of course, if you're Ghost Wolfing from Pack of Mob to Pack of Mob when you're doing world quests, that'll help a little bit, though perhaps it's not going to be the most useful thing when it comes to some of your actual gameplay, because you can't exactly do your full combat rotation when you're a Ghost Wolf. Anyway, we've got Emelon's Charged Core. If Crash Lightning hits at least 3 targets, you deal 10% increased damage for 10 seconds. Let's just see if it will hit that many targets here. And yeah, there you go, hit 3 targets. I'm now doing 10% more damage. So that's pretty nifty. We've got Akanu's Absolute Justice. Lava Lash deals 60% increased damage. Yes, 60. When both your weapons are enhanced by, or when your weapons are enhanced by Flame Tongue and Frostbrand. So if we apply this, and just in case you're not aware, Flame Tongue empowers your weapon, makes it do more damage. Frostbrand will make your weapon slow enemies on hit, but you have a talent, somewhere along here anyway, which makes Frostbrand cause your weapon to do additional frost damage. So if you choose that talent, you'll have a synergy with this particular legendary item. So again, legendary affecting your talent choices. But essentially, I go in here, I, get some Maelstrom, do both of these. Now I'm at a state where I'm doing a lot more damage with my Lava Lashes. So, well, I don't know, there's not much else to say other than that, but yeah, that's essentially how this is working. Lots of little synergies and things like that which tweak the spec. But anyway, that pretty much concludes it for the just walkthrough. If you want to see these specifically, you can, of course, hit up Wowhead and just look through all of them. Of course, covering the, it's probably over 100, covering them all specifically on the channel would take a very long time and would be very boring. Okay, so that is the video pretty much done. As I said, this is less about my own opinion and more about giving everyone a few examples and seeing what people think about it. If you want to take a deep dive into your own classes ones, check out MMO Champion and Wowhead. They both have, facilities to look through all of the different legendaries. I'm also just interested to see what do you think. Let me know on Twitter, let me know down in the comments, and let me know what your perspective is as well. As a raider, what do you think? As somebody who doesn't raid, what do you think? As somebody who's planning on doing loads of dungeons, what do you think? I'm really interested to see. If you want to hear what I think about it, you can check out the sort of numerous videos where I've actually talked about this subject. Do bear in mind, a lot of people seem to think, and it's people who, don't watch the channel and then just like shit talk about me in forums. They generally seem to think that I take this like mega hardcore mythic raiders are the only people who exist kind of stance and things. That's not really my thoughts, as much as there are definitely concerns for that mythic progression. I'm more concerned about just for a heroic guild, or, basically your median raiding guild from the raid perspective. And really, that could just be solved by not having these items really exist, or exist in raiding, so just having their effects not be a raiding thing. I know that gets a bit awkward if it's maybe a trinket or something like that. But, you know, some of these seem like they're actually quite fun in the world. If you're a mage running around the world who's got 75%, reduced cooldown on time warp, that's pretty awesome. That's an example of one, actually, that doesn't affect the raid and just gives you a fun little power thing for your regular content in the world. So I think these are a stronger system if they're just impacting the world content, right? So you're not really causing any problems and you're getting some fun little gameplay benefits. And that means that getting one of these items can be a special little thing, which makes your own personal gameplay a bit different, but doesn't really have any negative social impacts at all, bar their item level. But an item level is something that I think is decently easy to manage. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the video. Let me know what your thoughts are, and yeah, I guess I'll see you next time.